Good morning, students. Students, welcome to the Teaching Learning Digital Classroom of General Science. In the last lecture, we had started with lesson number 16, Natural Resources. We were not able to complete the lesson. So today we are going to continue with the remaining part of the lesson. So let's continue with the remaining part of the lesson. About the fuels which we use in our day-to-day life. And there in the textbook, the question given is, what is meant by fuels? What are fuels? So, the substances which we use in our day-to-day life for generating energy, for producing energy, such substances are called as fuels. That means the substances from which we get the energy, which are used to get the energy, are called as fuels, and they are found in all the three states. That is, they are found in solid, liquid, as well as in gaseous state. Next question is, which natural resources do we use as fuels? Now, which are the natural resources which we use as fuels? We use coal, we use natural gas, we use mineral oil, right? These are all the different type of natural resources. So first of all, let's start with the coal. We are going to study about the fuel coal. Now, how the coal is formed? Now, millions of years ago, when the forest, they got buried under the earth in the deeper layers of soil, they were deposited there, and due to the high pressure and due to the temperature, high temperature, which is coming in the form of the sun's heat, these buried plants, trees, they slowly transformed these plants into fuels, and thus the coal was formed under the lower layers of earth, and it is a fossil fuel. Coal is called as a fossil fuel. As you can see in the picture, how the formation of coal takes place. With due course of time, when these forests, when these trees, plants, they die, they get mixed with the soil, and because of the heat and pressure, these buried plants or trees, they are transformed into the fuel, and these are called as fossil fuels. There are different types of coals like peat coal, lignite coal, anthracite coal, bituminous coal, and subbituminous coal. Now, coal is generally found in the mines, and the best coal is the anthracite coal. That is the best type of coal. Now, coal is actually nothing but a storehouse of carbon. Now, when coal is burnt, energy is produced in the form of the heat. If you remember, in the olden days, you might have seen the movies that when the trains used to run, a lot of smoke used to be given out, because that time, in those times, the trains used to run on coal, right? So, the coal is used as a fuel. It is used as a fuel in thermal power plants also, where the electricity is generated with the raw material of coal. Coal is burnt, and then this is used to run the boilers and the railway engines. Coal is also used for cooking food, right? It is also used for baking the bricks in the big furnaces or the kilns. Then the coal which is in the gaseous form, that is also used to produce the heat energy, and thus this coal it is a great resource of energy, and it contributes a very big part in the industrial development. In most of the industries, coal is used as a fuel. Then the next is formation of mineral oil and natural gas. Now, how the formation of mineral oil and natural gas takes place, that we are going to understand lecture. Now, mineral oil, it is the liquid fuel. Coal is the solid fuel. I told you that fuel is available in all the three states, that is solid, liquid and gas. So solid we had seen coal, and liquid it is the mineral oil. Now this is also formed by the decomposition of organic substances which are buried under the soil millions of years ago. Now the organisms, the aquatic organisms which were present in the sea, when they died, they got mixed with the lower layers of the sea, that is at the bottom of the sea, and then they were covered with the layers of the soil. Then due to the high pressure again and temperature, these dead organisms, they were transformed into the mineral oil, and this mineral oil is extracted with the help of the big machineries from the oceans, from the sea. Mineral oil is also called as the crude oil, and the crude oil is very thick and it is greenish brown in color, and it consists of many other fuels like petroleum, then the natural gas. These are all the part of the crude oil, and then these are separated from the mineral oil, and we get petrol, gasoline, diesel, kerosene, then tar, lubricating oil. All these are obtained from the petroleum, and all these are used as fuel, right? So this is how the mineral oil is formed and the natural gas is formed. The next, natural gas. Now the natural gas is also a fossil fuel. Students, whichever fuel we get from the earth, from the deeper layers of soil, all those are called as the fossil fuel. Whether it is coal, whether it is mineral oil, whether it is natural gas, all these are the fossil fuels. The natural gas is mainly made up of methane, ethane, propane and butane in a very small proportion. As you can see on the screen, all the different layers of the flame, they have these different gases: methane, ethane, propane and butane. Now this natural gas is formed under the deeper layers when the organisms, they died, they got mixed with the bottom of the sea, with the deeper layers of the sea, and because of the high temperature and high pressure, they were transformed into the fuel. Now the natural gas is transported from one place to another with the help of the pipes. Like in our residential buildings, we get water with the help of the pipe. First, the tank which is present at the ground, the tank is filled, and then with the help of the motor, it is pulled in the tank which is on the terrace of the building, and then from there, with the help of the pipes, the water is supplied to each and every flat of the building. So gas is also supplied to the different places with the help of the pipes. if you are watching the news, just 2 to 3 days back, you might have seen that Mrs. Praveena Thakur, she has inaugurated the gas pipeline in Vasai. And now, maybe in coming few years, we, the people of Virar, may also get the gas pipeline. So let's hope for that. So, with the help of these pipes, the gas is transported from one place to another. Now, this natural gas mainly consists of, as I said, methane, ethane, propane and butane. And the percentage of these gases in natural gas is maximum is methane, which is 77 to 92%. Ethane is 0 to 20%. Butane is also around 20% and propane also around 20%. Right? So this is all about the natural gas. Then the gas, when it is transformed under high pressure into the compressed natural gas, that is the full form of CNG. Students, you might have seen that some of the rickshaws, auto rickshaws in Virar, they run on these CNG cylinders. They have a CNG cylinder at the back side of the seat, and they don't run on the petrol, but petrol or diesel, they run on CNG, or it is also called as compressed natural gas. Now, what are the characteristics of these compressed natural gas? Now, very first is, it is very inflammable. It catches fire easily, right? Second is, when it is burned, when the combustion of this CNG takes place, no solid waste remains. Like if we burn coal or wood, right, the solid waste is remained. But when this CNG, that is the very important characteristic or positive point of this CNG is that when it burns, when it gives heat energy, no solid waste is remained. The whole of the CNG is converted into energy. Carbon dioxide and water are formed in very small quantities, right? But when we burn coal or when we burn wooden branches or wood, a lot of smoke is given out, right? And carbon particles are also given out when the incomplete combustion of wood takes place. But here, a very little amount of carbon dioxide and water are formed. So that is also a very good part of the CNG. And other pollutants are not produced. Smoke is not there. Then soot particles are not there, right? So that is also one very good characteristic of CNG. And next is, it can be transported very easily. Just like water, the gas also can be transported from one place to another with the help of the pipes. And the negative point of this is that combustion can be controlled. One more positive point is combustion can be controlled easily. If it is burning, it can be controlled very easily. Okay, so these are the characteristics of CNG. Next, one information is given for you. Do you know what are fossils? As I told in the beginning, coal, mineral oil, natural gas, all these are fossil fuels, right? So these fuels are made up of fossils. But what are fossils? Now, as I said, when the plants and animals, they die, they get mixed with the soil, right? So their dead bodies are preserved in the rocks or in the soil. And the scars or the signs of their existence is left even after their burial of millions of years ago, right? And if you are watching the Discovery Channel, you might have seen that sometimes the impression of the organisms are seen on the surfaces of coal and stones, because those dead bodies were buried under the soil, so their impression is created, right? So all these are called as the fossil fuels. Then the gas which we use at home, the gas cylinders which we get and we use to cook food, that gas is the LPG, or liquefied petroleum gas. That is, the petroleum gas is liquefied, which is called as LPG. Now this gas is transformed into a liquid with the help of very high pressure and reducing the volume. The volume of the gas is reduced, and under the high pressure it is stored inside the LPG in the liquid form. If you shake the gas cylinder, you will feel that there is some liquid, but when we lit the gas stove, the gas comes out, right? So it is under pressure stored in the cylinder, and when we turn on the knob, under pressure, when this liquid comes out, it comes out in the form of the gas. And this LPG gas which we use at our home is generally made up of two components, that is propane and butane, out of which propane is 30% and butane is 70%, right? Now actually this gas is odorless, LPG, but a small amount of a chemical which is called as ethyl mercaptan is added, because it has a very strong characteristic odor, so that it can be helpful in detecting any leakage of LPG gas, and thus the major accidents can be avoided. So actually the LPG gas which we use does not have any odor, but suppose unfortunately if there is any leakage, then we will not come to know that the gas is leaking, and thus to avoid the accidents, a small amount of ethyl mercaptan liquid or a chemical is added, which gives a very strong odor to it. So that is mainly added to avoid the accidents. Then next a question is given: why is natural gas an eco-friendly fuel? Now this answer I have told you earlier, where we had studied the characteristic that natural gas is eco-friendly because it does not produce any waste, it does not produce any pollution, it is very easy to transport from one place to another, right? That is why it is called as eco-friendly fuel. Then these all are the eco-friendly fuel. The burner's picture you can see, as I said, that the gas in the cylinder is in the liquid form, but when it is coming out of the cylinder with under great pressure, it comes out in the form of the gas, okay? And the coal, gas and oil, these are the different types of fuel. As I said, fuels are in all the three states of matter, whether it can be solid, it can be liquid, or it can be in the next we are going to start is forest resources. Now you know that about 30% of our earth, of our land, is covered by forest, right? And what is a forest? A forest is an extensive area of land which is covered with a variety of plants, right? So such an area which is covered with variety of trees or variety of plants is called as the forest. Now, do you think that forests are really important for the survival of the living organisms? Yes, The forest is trees, and trees, we know that trees are the only organisms on the earth which can convert the solar energy into chemical energy. That means they can only convert the solar energy into food, right? Through the process of photosynthesis. Yes, and this happens only because of the green pigment chlorophyll, right? Because they have chlorophyll in them, and thus they are able to synthesize their own food. Then we will study about the protective functions of the forest and productive functions of the forest. So first let's start with the protective functions of the forest. The very first one is they reduce the velocity of water flowing over the land. Now when so many of trees are there, when the water flows, because of these trees, the flow of the water, the speed of the water gets restricted, right? That is the first protective functions of the forest, how the forest protects us. So they reduce the speed of the water which flows over the land. They prevent the soil erosion because their roots, they go deep inside the soil and they hold the soil firmly, and thus the erosion of soil does not take place. To help percolation of water into the ground, the rainwater which falls on the ground, it is seeped or it percolates inside the soil, inside the earth because of the plants. They control the flood as they minimize, they reduce the velocity of water. Thus the floods are also controlled by the forest. They reduce the rate of evaporation because of the trees, because of the forest. The evaporation rate of water is also reduced. They protect the wildlife, the wild animals like lion, tiger, elephant, they all live in the forest, right? So they give protection to the wild animals, and they maintain the balance of the atmospheric gases. We know that plants or the trees are the only organisms which consume carbon dioxide and give out oxygen in the process of photosynthesis, and thus they perform a very important protective role in maintaining the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Otherwise, all the organisms, they take in oxygen and they give out carbon dioxide. So these are the protective functions of the forest. Next is, what are the productive functions of the forest? What products do we get from the forest? Now we get wood. First thing is, we get wood from the forest. This wood is used in the construction work. It is used for making furnitures. It is used for making agricultural implements, as well as many other things are made up of wood. Then the paper, rubber, gum, all these things also we get from the forest. Then the different oil like lemongrass oil, vanilla oil, kevada, all these also, eucalyptus oil, sandalwood oil, all these also we get from the forest. Then a very important aspect, that is the medicinal plant. At home remedies also, if somebody is having cough and cold, mummy says prepare a kada of tulsi or lemon tea, right? Then take this what we say, cinnamon for cough and cold. So all these medicinal plants which are very, very useful, they are used as medicines. And the branch of science where the medicines are obtained from the plants is called as the Ayurveda. Then the next is how to conserve forest. Now we had seen the protective functions of the forest as well as the productive functions of the forest. Now the question arises is how to conserve the forest. Now as the population of India is increasing, we have to make the concrete jungle, the you can see that the green land is vanishing, and instead the concrete jungle is taking the place. Is it right? No, it is not right. We are disturbing the balance, and that is the reason why, the just now, a few days back, you might have seen on the TV that the glacier melted, and in Uttarakhand, there was a huge loss of property and life. This is all because of global warming, because we are disturbing the nature, we are disturbing the balance of the nature, and forests are our natural resources, so we have to conserve the forest. So how we can conserve the forest? First is, we should not cut the young trees. Not only young trees, we should not cut any trees, right? Because it takes hardly hours to cut a fully grown tree, but it takes years to become a tree. Next is, many more trees than are cut down should be planted, right? So these trees, if at all there is an urgency, there is a need of cutting down the trees, then we should plant more trees than the number we have cut. Then the laws should be made very strict. The regulations, the restrictions should be very strictly followed regarding the forest. Okay, so this is how we can conserve the forest. Next, we are going to study about the ocean resources. That is, the things which we get from the ocean or from the sea. So in ocean wealth, the different minerals and the bioresources which we get from the oceans are called as the oceanic wealth. Now we get different things, different living organisms which are used as food from the oceans. Not only that, the tides, the waves, the ocean, the kinetic energy of the water are used to produce large amount of energy, large amount of electricity. We get different living and non-living resources from the sea, from the minerals, from the living and non-living things from the sea. Now, at the bottom of the oceans, we get many minerals and gems. So all these are found at the bottom of the sea or bottom of the ocean. Bioresources, wherever the word bio comes, it means living. So whatever living organisms which are used as food, which are used to extract the oil from their body, or which are used to manufacture the different vitamins, all these are called as the bioresources. The living organisms which we get from the oceans are called as the bioresources. So all these we get from the sea. The non-vegetarians might be knowing that the shrimp or the prawn, fishes, then the mollusks, all these are used as non-vegetarian food. So this is all about the oceanic wealth or the marine wealth. So all these living and non-living resources from the ocean is called as the marine. Then this is just for your information that, as I said, the oil is drilled from the bottom of the sea or from the bottom of the ocean with the help of the big machines, and one of such ship is the Sagar Samrat ship, which is in the Bombay High, and it is used for obtaining mineral oil and natural gas from the bottom of the sea. And then from here, the natural gas is carried to a small island called as Uran through the pipeline. Then As I said, the mineral resources from oceans and bioresources in oceans, there are different elements which we get like thorium, magnesium, potassium, sodium, sulfate. All these are the minerals which we get from the oceans. And bioresources, as I said, all the living organisms like different types of fishes, then shrimps, then shells, fungi, shark liver oil and cod liver oil you might have seen, then the oils with vitamin A, D, and E, then sea cucumbers. These are used as medicines for treating the cancer and the tumors. So, students, this was lesson was all about the natural resources. Now, the different marine occupations. There are different occupations which are related to marine, like fishing, salt farming. When you go towards Bhayandar, you might have seen the salt pans, right? It is a big industry. Then transport business, transportation takes place through the seas. Sea tourism, okay, that is the source of financial income. And the manufacturing of decorative article like conches, shells, all these are the marine occupations. And we should always remember that natural resources are very, very important for fulfilling our requirements, our needs. But these natural resources are limited, their reserves are limited, and we should use them very, very judiciously, very, very carefully. Otherwise, the time will come when these fossil fuels, when these natural resources will get over. Their depletion has already started. So, we have to keep a control on the use of the natural resources so that the balance is maintained, which is very, very important for the survival of the living organisms on the earth. So, students, with this, we finish with the lesson. And in the next science period, we are going to discuss about the workbook exercise of the same lesson. Please find out the answers so that it becomes easy for you to tick mark the answers in the textbook as well as in the workbook. Thank you, students, and take care.